stepping up to the plate with these pay-per-views. It seems just like everybody has a real sense of, they're going to go out there and try to do the best that they can with the match that they have. And that's the impression that I got, last month with WrestleMania and on to this month with Extreme Rules, pretty much the same thing. I'm just going to kind of go ahead and jump right into it here with you. Of course, opening match. Bad News Barrett, supposed to be wrestling Daniel Bryan, of course. We all know, injuries going on with Daniel Bryan. He's not able to make it, so they put Adrian Neville, or, Neville, in the spot. And this match was pretty good. The crowd, you could just tell that, the Chicago crowd was really hot to start off with, and that's, one thing, the WWE, I have to commend them on, at least here recently, the pre-show matches have usually delivered and delivered well, and this is no different. Barrett and Neville went out there and had a really great, fast-paced, it seemed like it ran probably about 10 minutes, or so, I would say, and Neville gets the big win, probably not straying too far from, the original plan going into the things, tonight, of course. More than likely Daniel Bryan would have went over in the Intercontinental title match, so not straying from that, give Neville the huge, win over Barrett. There's going to be a lot of back and forth about how, it was such a huge moment for Neville, but it was on the pre-show, so, definitely a big moment for him, but, and hopefully they can, they'll sustain that push that they've been giving him and see that through, and, very exciting, see what other NXT guys they'll call up, to go along with that, and so on. But, so pre-show was, pre-show match is good, and they're going to go into the actual event here. Kicks off with Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper. Street fight rules, Chicago street fight, of course, so, throwing that big gimmick out there first out of the line, and this just kind of goes back to what I was talking about, leading in to everything, is just how everybody knows their roles so well. It's like they send Ambrose and Harper out, and they do, exactly the kind of match that is suited to their strengths. That brawling style, of course, is Extreme Rules, but, having them in the street fight, gave them a lot to work off of as far as, their psychology in the match, and, had a decent, brawl for what it was. It was good. And, and then they went to the finish with the car and, going out of the building thing. You could really tell that, the fans in the arena at first didn't really care for the finish as it was. Of course, they ended up coming back into the arena and finishing the match later, which get into here momentarily. So that was a good way to kick things off, of course. And then what we had second, what we rolled into the Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler match, I believe, was on second in the Kiss My Arse match. Great effort from these guys, went about, 10 minutes or so. Felt like it, maybe went a little short because I was enjoying it. But, when you get to, the reason why it was so short is because there was so much post-match stuff with the whole stipulation and, I just look at this and, it's just a big head scratcher, for me. Like, it's like, why? Uh, the whole stipulation and everything just seems really silly to me, especially when, you know, 80% of your crowd is, male. I don't understand why you would want to have the. So yeah, the notion of having, this kiss my arse match, and you just have this huge male demographic, and it's just like the segment went on for so long and it was so awkward, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if there was, at least maybe 50% women in the audience, maybe it would have came across a little better, but there's no way to really gauge that, who's going to be in the crowd. So it's just like, it just makes you wonder, like, like who this segment was for, and it doesn't help, that whole, homoeroticism, stigma, that wrestling tends to have, but it's comical in a way. But the match itself I thought was great. The post-match shenanigans, they are what they are. They are going to be what they are going to be, and so forth. So, won't spend too much time dwelling on that. But it was fine. Everything was very solid. And moving on from there, I got the big tag team title match. Of course, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd defending against the New Day, Big E and Kofi. Xavier on the outside. This match was awesome. New Day, this is very, very strange, path that they've taken here. Very, very different. I almost want to say, like, I don't know, dare I say, kind of eerily similar to The Rock, back in the day, but just trying to be, the baby faces, and then they end up being the heels because the fans kind of turn on you. And now it's kind of starting to come together, as far as like their gimmick and how the crowd's responding to them over time. It's almost as if they didn't really have a plan for what their gimmick really was, but just kind of the fans, help tell the story, as far as that goes, by booing them. And now they've been cast into the light, as these heels. But, beyond that, the match with them was great. You could tell there's a lot of chemistry going on there, I'm sure, working, everything out at house shows, and, just everything just so solid. It's getting back to the overall theme of this whole thing is just, how solid, these shows have been recently. And this match, I think, was kind of the sleeper match, this tag team match. I think probably overall it was one of the matches that I enjoyed the most, actually, on the whole card. The pace of it, and just, everything I thought was really good. Everything was timed well. And then, of course, there was a big, title switch in the match, with the New Day becoming the tag team champions. but just the overall solidness, of the work, like, dare I say it was my favorite match on the card. Big title win for the New Day, and my brother made a comment about how he didn't think that was, like the right call, like booking wise, and I'm like, no, this is great. This is, going to put so much more heat on the New Day now, for being champions. I think that they have the potential to be really strong, really hated heel tag team champions now with the direction that this is going, and make Cesaro and Kid, I think, even more over as the faces in the situation. That thrill of the chase kind of the thing, always kind of comes into play. So yeah, I think there's a lot of good things to come with that, all in all. And of course, after their big win, they're having a promo in the back, saying a few words or what have you, and then boom, here comes the car that has Ambrose and Harper in it. Of course, when they left, Harper was driving, and then when they showed back up, Ambrose was driving, which I think, was a nice touch. At least they didn't have, like, mysteriously, like, somehow a camera got in there and they were going to, like, footage of them, fighting in the car or fighting, which would have been entertaining, but, a little bit, over the top. So I'm glad to see they didn't go that route. They come back into the arena to finish it off and end up mainly doing this huge spot, with a bunch of chairs, just throwing a ton of chairs in the ring, kind of maybe somewhat of an homage to Terry Funk and Cactus Jack back in the ECW days. Basically getting buried under the pile of chairs. Ambrose ends up getting the win in the match, which was good for him. I think he was due for a big pay-per-view win. Seems like it hasn't been a while, since he's gotten one of those. So I think that definitely was a good move. So, then we have the United States Championship match. Of course, John Cena going in. He's been defending the title, every week on Raw, and been a good gimmick. But of course, they saved the big rematch with Rusev for this Extreme Rules pay-per-view or event, or whatever we're supposed to call it now that we're in the WWE Network era. But huge rematch, and the actually Russian chain match, stipulation that was thrown on this one. And this was interesting because they did it with the under the rules where they have to touch the corners, and I thought that was kind of interesting how they had the light set up on each of the posts. I don't remember that ever being in any other match, especially WWE match. I thought that was a nice touch, kind of help the crowd kind of be able to keep better track of what was going on. Even though it seemed like they came on late half the time after they would touch them. I don't know, you think that there would be a little bit better of a response or something like that. But anyway, this match was it was okay. It was what it was for a Cena match. I really don't think that this match was given enough time as it should have. If something was just cut down, a little bit more, and this match could have gotten, another 5 or 6 minutes, I think it would have told a much better story. Because I think when you're looking at the last 3 pay-per-views that Cena and Rusev have done these matches, I think it's definitely probably the least best, out of the 3. When you go back to WrestleMania and then, Fastlane, it's definitely wasn't the best one out of the 3. Probably the least favorite as far as I'm concerned, just simply because it just didn't have enough time. It didn't really seem too believable to me at the point in time of, how Rusev got taken out. A couple attitude adjustments. I understand that, but I think there should have been more in play with the chain. I think it should have gotten maybe a little bit more barbaric, through the match. It just wasn't really what I was expecting as far as, like the whole, Russian chain rules. It was very PG, very, which I guess that's what WWE is nowadays, but they've really, raised the bar with some things a little bit. So maybe, I don't know, taking it back a little bit, and they played it really, really safe with this one, which I was really surprised. Which I guess in the scheme of things, with how loaded this card was, I guess they didn't really feel the need, to go out there and, kind of put it all out on the line and make it, a really drawn out, really violent encounter, which, part of that could have been the whole time thing, as far as I'm concerned. So, but, it was still decent. Of course, Cena gets the win, which, I'm not, a huge proponent of. I know that they're trying to, keep him as the U.S. champion and build back up the U.S. championship as, something prestigious again and everything, and get all that. I definitely don't think, Rusev losing, pretty much clean, really did him any favors. Hopefully, if anything, after all this, they kind of just get these two, away from each other, because I really don't want to see him lose again to Cena and, lose any more momentum than he already has. But, of course, I believe after this, we went into the Divas Championship match, which, honestly, don't really remember too much of. I remember it was decent, for what it was. The moments of it I caught. I'm sorry if I don't really cover that with you here. Beyond that, though, Roman Reigns' Big Show was surprising, I would say. A couple huge spots. Definitely. They're just they're keeping on that Roman Reigns train. He's definitely, even after WrestleMania and the loss, definitely still the golden boy, and definitely, looks like they're still putting a whole lot of stock into him, and this match did exactly what it was designed to do. It's been the theme for pretty much the last year. Make Roman Reigns look strong. Big Show, of course, did a great little piece of business making that all happen. And, it was surprising, to me for what it was. Definitely one of the better Big Show matches that there's been, I think, in a while. And that's great. I think that shows that Big Show really wanted to go out there and prove that he was a company guy and give it his all in trying to make Roman, look his best as he possibly could. And definitely got to commend Big Show on that, because I think that's definitely how it came across. to the audience there, and hopefully to the pay-per-view audience as well. At least it did with me. So that was good. Gonna kind of brush through that and go ahead and get to the main event. Seth Rollins, Randy Orton. This was a confusing piece of work, and I don't really know. I guess hopefully they intended for there to be this confusion. I would really like to believe that the main event of this pay-per-view wasn't just a complete botch. But of course, Orton and Rollins, they had a great match. The crowd kind of seemed like they were pretty tired at this point. To be honest with you, I think they definitely should have been a lot hotter than they were. Lukewarm at best. But I think that Orton and Rollins did a great job, trying to get them back into it, which they did in a lot of parts of the match. But overall, I think that, the crowd, just definitely had a sense that, that Orton, wasn't going to win it. And, rightfully so. At least that's, how it's, how it looked and how it's booked. Of course, you have Kane out there, and it was semi overbooked. I think, but it has to be. That's the Seth Rollins. That's going to be his MO. Throughout this whole title reign, is that things are going to be overbooked. He's going to have a lot of interference. A lot of things are going to be going on, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how he's going to be able to sneak out, with the championship and, have a reign that, lasts longer than, a month now, obviously. That he's had the championship almost, or 3 weeks, or however you want to look at it. But, the match, I think, overall was good. Of course, the whole confusion thing, the stipulation with, Randy Orton's not supposed to use the RKO. Well, they do this finish. First of all, before we get to the finish, they, execute, a pretty decent, situation where, J&J Security, they're coming in for the run-in, and, Orton ends up throwing Rollins into the sides of the cage, knocking them both off, which I thought was, a really cool spot that didn't get, the kind of reaction that I think that they were looking for. But, so then the big question, becomes what's Kane going to do? Rollins accidentally kicks, the cage into Kane's face. Kane comes in, choke slams both guys, and then he puts Rollins over on Orton, but Orton still kicks out. There was, a couple of, a couple pinfalls there, I think that they could have done without of, and could have went to the, to how everything was going to end, a little more quickly. I think that those last two pinfall attempts that both guys made on each other definitely, could have legitimately ended it. And surprisingly not. So, of course, they end up doing this finish where Kane gets RKO'd by Randy Orton right in front of the referee. And then Rollins uses that as his opportunity to then proceed to do the RKO onto Randy Orton. And pretty sure he, instead of pinning him, he escaped out the door. Still champion Seth Rollins, but the announcers played off this whole thing like, oh, we're confused. Well, we thought the RKO was banned. Well, no, we think that it was just Orton that wasn't supposed to use it. Well, Orton used it on Kane, so what's the really, what I mean? It's just like all this confusion. But, the bottom line is that Seth Rollins is still the champ. It was an okay finish. Of course, I'm not going to play, fantasy booker and act like I had, a better idea, but I think anything, could have been finished a little bit better, even if it was just a little bit more, straightforward. Save the convoluted endings for TNA, and you know what I mean. It was like a Vince Russo esque booking or something like that. It was that confusing, but I guess it did what it was supposed to do. Kept the title on Rollins. It doesn't necessarily make Randy look weak, or strong, or either vice versa. They still look pretty much equal. So it definitely poses ground and definitely makes a good argument for them working another match at the Payback pay-per-view, which is, I think is more than likely what'll end up happening. But of course, we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, I think overall, Extreme Rules definitely, definitely a good show. I definitely enjoyed it. And like I said at the beginning, it's just it was your standard WWE pay-per-view. Everybody knew their roles and their spots, and got everything over the way it was supposed to. Everything fit very nicely, and company, at least from a creative standpoint, I think is on quite a bit of a roll right now. Things are looking good going into Payback, and then the rest of the summer pay-per-views. So there'll be a lot to see from this.